And if you can't, you can catch all the recordings. We have all of them. So thank you so much for being here.
And I wanted to really say if you find today helpful, or if anybody needs more support, go to carolynbarnes.com, reach out to me, and I'm here to support you all. So if you have any questions, let's hop on a Zoom call and I'm available, So I just wanted to extend that. And I love feedback and it's why I'm doing this. So just wanted to extend that to you. So I guess if we're ready to get started.
Yeah, or give it a couple minutes and then I would start. We'll start it right at 4.
Oh, sure. So this guy walks into a bar. I'm saying the same joke last time. And he's all, ouch. Okay, that's my joke. Oh, any questions before we get started?
Yeah, I'm glad we chatted because then I looked at my emails. Oh, there's the link right there.
Awesome. Very cool.
I
Yeah.
went to go search for it after we were
Yeah.
chatting at
Yeah.
lunch.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you're here. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And good to see you, Nancy. And I can't pronounce Jovan, but hello. Hi. Hi. And of course, Monica. Yes. So we'll get out of romper room and get into and get into things now. That is 4 o'clock. Okay. So basically, you know the feeling where you know what to do, but doing what you know you should be doing is, and consistently is kind of where things break down, right? And there is a scientific reason why this happens. And today I'm gonna break it all down and I'm gonna guide you through a real powerful process that's gonna rewire procrastination into inspired action, which is very different because here's the truth. If and we all do this, if we're waiting for motivation, we're gonna be waiting forever. It just doesn't happen one day magically you're motivated. But if you create inspired action, everything changes. And this is very different. And I'm going to break this down because it's incredibly powerful when you really understand this. And in the moment, I'm going to give you the biggest secret to creating this change for yourself. But you already know I'm Carolyn Barnes. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I help people rewire their response to stress and transform procrastination. It's the energy of hesitation into taking action. And I just want to be real transparent and real. I used to procrastinate all the time. I grew up with ADHD and with dyslexia, and I was that kid. It's embarrassing to admit, but I was in the middle classroom, feeling awkward and uncomfortable, and I felt like incompetent. And I created a story about myself that I wasn't smart or I wasn't good enough. And that story wasn't true, but I rehearsed it so many times in my mind that I created a reality for myself that I eventually learned how to change. And that's what we're going to be working with today. Um, it took me a long time until I got into this work to realize these stories that we tell ourselves are just stories. They're not the facts. They're not real. They're distortions that a younger part of us made during a time where emotions that felt pretty big were never fully processed because no magic genie comes down and goes, there, Carolyn, your feelings matter. Let's let that go now. Here's the real truth, and puts in the logic. Most of us experience, maybe a parent is trying to insert the logic to make you stop feeling the way you're doing, and meanwhile the feelings get stuck and trapped and expand. And we're going to reverse engineer this today. And in order to create the change that we're all here to create for ourselves, it's really important to understand a few things. Your mind and body are the most advanced computer on the planet. They're a pattern recognition device, and most people don't even know where the keyboard is. So today, we're not going to just learn where that is. We're going to really go into the operating system itself, because once you realize that you're not just the operator of these programs in this computer like mind and body. You're the programmer, you're the writer of the code, not just the editor. You're the story maker, right? That's a lot of power we all have. And if you've written the stories before, that means you can go back to the writer's room and you can, you know, rewrite them in a way that serves you. And we're going to rewrite them in a way that actually updates the coding of your mind and your body. So I want you to just imagine here that this circle here is your computer mind. Oh, hey, welcome. If you could put yourself on mute, that would be fantastic, just so that there's less feedback. But imagine that this circle is like your computer-like mind, and we all come into the world pretty much a clean slate, but installed into each and every one of our hard drives, we have something called the primitive mind. This is your fight, your flight, and your freeze response, your stress response. So back in the caveman days, you had adrenaline and you had cortisol pumping in your system so that you would have all the energy to fight the lion or run away as fast as you can, or you'd freeze and you'd play dead because we're hardwired for survival, right? But today we don't have, lions chasing us, right? Modern times we've evolved, but that part of the brain hasn't in the amygdala, the limbic system. And instead of lions, what we have is our thoughts that feel like lions. And your mind can't tell what's real and what's imagined. So thoughts feel as scary as lions. And instead of fight, flight, freeze, let's call it anxiety, depression, or dun dun dun, procrastination. And these are forms of protection. So once you start understanding that procrastination is actually a form of protection, it's not laziness, nothing's wrong. It's just not a program that's installed so it doesn't feel like it's safe. Then you could start beginning to work with things differently. Now, we're also hardwired to conserve energy because all of that energy for our survival, well, we need to conserve it just in case we need it. And that's the old outdated programs. And so this is why we have habits. Like if you had to think about every time you had to wake up and pee at 3 o'clock in the morning, you'd fall on your face, right foot, left foot. We automate it, right? We automate talking and walking and reading and writing. These become habits that are just something that we take for granted today, right? And when we are around 0 to 8 years old, we are in a slower brainwave state. We're downloading programs. We're in the theta brainwave state, which we're going to actually recreate today. And this means our brains are like sponges. And so we're looking to our parents or to authority, our teachers, to know how to be in the world. And then here's where things get interesting, okay? So we look at everything as the truth. And then we have these knowns, which are experiences that are positive and negative. And these are when known experiences have a high emotional feedback response or a really negative feedback response. And let's take, for example, you have a high emotional positive response to getting a dog when you're a child. And they're fluffy, they're cute. Yay, let's get a dog. When you get older, chances are you'll get a dog. You have a wonderful positive association with that dog, right? Now, let's say as a kid, you're bit by the dog. Now we have a negative association. Dogs are dangerous. So you get older, maybe your partner wants a dog and you're like, all right, here, puppy, puppy, but they could smell the fear on you because your belief system, your nervous system went danger. And that's the wiring. It's a program. So let's take this a step further. My childhood. Let's take me when I'm little, okay? I'm doing my math homework, and my mom, who's Jewish, she's from New York, she's aggressive, she's a single mom, and she comes in and she wants to take me to ballet class, right? She comes home from work and I'm doing my homework. She shouts, get in the car. Now, my nervous system, when she shouts, I disassociate and I freeze. So she thinks I'm ignoring her. So she does what logically makes sense, shouts louder. So I freeze more. So then she shouts even louder until it's intense and it really jolts my nervous system. Bam. And it forms a belief because, again, no magic genie comes down and goes, "Oh, there, Carolyn. Nothing's wrong with you. Your feelings are valid, real, and true." Mom does not know how to articulate herself in the way that you needed to hear her message so that you get in the car. So I form a belief. It's my fault. Something's wrong with me. And this becomes a lens that produces thoughts that then become automatic on automatic pilot. Wait, it gets even more interesting. Okay. Now, when we are, my pen is losing ink, 9 and 10 years old, this part of the brain develops, the frontal lobes. And this is your critical mind. And this is your logic, your reasoning, your analysis, your decision making, your willpower. It's what you want. And here's where things get interesting. Okay. So let's say, for example, in your business, just to put this into play, you are not working right now in your field. So you get inspired in your head and you're like, okay, I'm going to get my resumes together. And I'm going to put myself out there because I need a gig. And you know you're skilled and you polish your resume and you get really excited and maybe you start reaching out to your inner circle or contact lists. This is only 5% of your thinking. And if you don't have a belief that's in alignment with what you want, okay? If you have a belief like maybe I'm too old, or maybe things don't work out for me, or nothing goes my way, or I'm not good enough, or I was fired and it's protecting you from getting hurt in the future. If you have protection happening, every time you try to take a little step, okay, if you try to move too quickly, all of a sudden you're going outside this comfort zone. And that's like a lion, a threat, danger. And it's going to pull you and yank you right back into the comfort zone. Even if these are negative, it's familiar and you didn't die. You with me? The mind loves familiar. And this is where people get stuck. They try to create change through logic and willpower. And this is Isaac Newton's model, right? If I do this and that, then I become that. So let's take weight loss. If I eat healthy and I exercise and join a gym membership, then I become fit and strong. And that is why most people revert because of this one thing, and I'm going to explain it in just a second. This is very temporary, this model. Einstein has the theory of relativity, and he talks about energy. Now, his model looks different. It's like energy. It's about becoming, right? So instead of waiting to become through taking action, which of course, if you had a hard day, you're not going to go to the gym. You want to seek comfort and probably hunker up and watch your favorite Netflix show, right? But what Einstein says is we create the energy and the becoming of the person first. You become the identity. What kind of person does these things? A successful person, right? You become the identity of success. You become the identity of fit and healthy. You become the identity of unconditional love and having that relationship. You become the identity of abundance. You with me? It's all about identity shifting. Then this is the gateway to creating sustainable change. You're now becoming the person, and that's exciting to become the person. There's always going to be resistance when it comes to creating change. It's just part of the process. But it doesn't mean it's a signal to stop. It's actually a signal that your mind and body are learning. So if you're experiencing pressure, means that you are installing new pathways, new coding. It means you're getting closer to what you actually want and desire to be successful, right? So just put that in mind and give yourself some grace. Um, because it's really important to really understand we're going to be bridging this gap between what you want and your belief system. And we're going to create this gateway so that we bypass the critical part of your mind and we go into the belief. We're going to pull out the energy, which is that unprocessed emotion. Emotions are energy in motion that got trapped in the nervous system. We're going to create safety and allow the nervous system to adapt at the rate and speed that's just right for you. And when you understand it's about taking action first, and that resistance will just show up, but that it's not a signal to stop, it's just a signal that your nervous system is adapting, you'll be able to move through it much more easily. Because change doesn't happen when you do this and do that and then expect results. This is kind of black and white thinking, all or nothing, right? And we can get into this very easily. But when we start, instead of how do I sustain this habit, and instead ask ourselves, who am I becoming? What do I value? What's important? Now we're working with inspired action. When you shift with identity, the habits kind of take care of themselves, and your body, for example, isn't trying to do the workout. You're the type of person who takes care of their body, right? It's not about eating better. You're just the kind of person who chooses to eat healthy food, if that's, the idea. And then your procrastination starts to dissolve once you start to really shape this identity of who we're becoming. And it really starts with the value system. So we're going to start in there. And you'll find that it's much easier to let go of the excuses. The excuses feel so real because it's trying to protect you from a lion, but that's what the boogeyman. But there is no lion or boogeyman outside your front door. But the feelings are there and they're very strong. So we're going to work with that belief system, and then we'll rewire your response to creating the change that will help you the most. Now, I want to also address something. Most people, again, I want to address fear. They're driven by fear, right? Like fear of failing, fear if I don't do this, will happen, fear of being judged, fear of not having enough. And fear can move you forward. But once things get comfortable, well, now what? What's your motivator? Right? So the real power comes when you're being pulled by the identity, when you get so excited about becoming the person. That is about letting go of the old self and becoming who you really are. We're designed to expand and to evolve and grow. And that's where the excitement is. And when we align the beliefs with the values, you unlock tremendous energy. And this is where your real power is. And it's the difference between pushing yourself with motivation, which doesn't work, and being pulled forward with inspired action. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So we're going to do that. We're going to bridge that gap. And
Carolyn,
yes.
before anything, can you put that drawing up to the camera in focus?
Yeah.
Let's see here. It's
It's a little blurry.
yeah, it's a little blurry, but I think that's the zoom, but just so everybody can sort of see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you can kind of
Yeah, we
get a
can
sense
kind of,
of things.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Um, slides next time. So this is why we don't force change. We need to create change at a rate and speed that's just right, as is right for you. And before we begin this process, I just want to share a few guidelines about how your subconscious mind really works and communicates. So you'll think of them as like little road signs, for example, and it allows the whole entire process to become much easier. So first of all, it's important to understand that your unconscious mind uses pictures and symbols. It doesn't make sense. It's like when you have a dream at night and your third grade teacher is like on a broomstick in your kitchen going around. You're like, I don't understand. And the subconscious mind is not logical. Okay, just so you know. And it uses pictures, it uses symbols, it works with metaphors, and it lands a whole lot deeper when you just try to let go of control. It's like kick back and watch the movie, essentially. It works with color and light, sound frequency, vibrational frequency, which is emotions. These are the coding blueprints that we'll be working with. And it always answers first. So when I ask you the question in a moment, the first answer that comes to mind is usually connected with the subconscious mind. When you try to edit it, your conscious mind kicks in and it's going, no, no, no. Go with the first answer. Follow that thread. And there's no wrong that you can do in this. And we're going to be working with the belief system, not what's logical, because you already know, logically you're good enough. But if there's a belief that's in there that is creating the resistance, the belief system is what we're dealing with today. And the subconscious mind whispers, it doesn't shout. Fear shouts, there's urgency. Subconscious is like a whisper, and it's not linear. It's going to pop around. You may be, 1 minute 5 years old, maybe the next minute 30 years old. So don't try to go in order of anything. There is no order or logic. So just let go of any part of you that is trying to control anything. And that need to control is the work, right? So it's creating safety and controlling the breath, controlling where you focus, so you can allow the necessary changes that'll help you the most begin to integrate into the deeper part of your mind. I know this is a lot of information, and if you feel a little stimulated, overstimulated right now, this is normal and good. It means that you're going to drop into relaxation a whole lot quicker. And before we get to that part where you get nice and relaxed, go ahead and close your eyes. Pardon me, open your eyes, notice an object around the room. First there. Once you have an object, go ahead and close. And as you remind yourself of this object, as you bring that to the forefront of your mind, just notice what it looks like. See if you can notice any details. Some people you might notice more strongly, others maybe another sense might be stronger than visual. It really doesn't matter, just get a sense. If I were to ask you to imagine, what does it feel like holding this object in your hands? Notice what that feels like. Is it heavy or light? Notice the weight of this. Now imagine you were to take your fingertips and you were to, sort of run them across the edges of the object. Are the edges pointy or are they curved? What does it feel like under your fingertips? And just notice. Is it rough or smooth? Now I wonder, this is very detailed. Can you notice the temperature of the object? If the object is, say, a picture frame and it's metal, it might feel different than, say, a cushion. What does it feel like temperature-wise under the fingertips? And I wonder if you can become aware of this sound. If you were to tap your fingertips on the object, what would that sound like? And just notice. And as you just continue breathing slowly and deeply, each breath soothing your body and just calming your mind. Now, a part of you might be wondering, what does this have to do with procrastination? Well, procrastination shows up when you're acting from should. I should do this. When your conscious mind says, I should do this, but your unconscious mind doesn't feel safe or doesn't care enough, we stall. So the moment we connect with our value system, the moment you connect action with values, the things that matter to you most, everything sort of begins to shift because you're no longer pushing yourself through willpower. You're being pulled forward through your alignment. And that's the antidote to procrastination, which is alignment. See, in the past, you may have waited for motivation, but now we're going to be acting from our value system. So as you keep that in mind and just stay curious before I bring you in even deeper, you can trust the first thing that comes up and just notice what your unconscious mind brings forward. And as you just continue breathing slowly and deeply, each breath soothing your body and just calming your mind, I want you to start off by asking yourself what you actually want. What do you want? We know what we don't want, but what do you want? And it could be small, it could be trivial, or it can be big. It really doesn't matter. You just need to start somewhere. So when you fill this sentence out and you say, I want blank, I want, and the first thing that comes to mind. And what will having this blank do for you? What will having this do for you? And don't worry if you don't get things right away, it's okay. Your subconscious mind knows everything. So now ask yourself, having blank will give you blank. Having blank will give me blank. Fill in that blank. And then ask yourself, well, what will having that blank do for you then? Well, having blank will give you what then? Now, when you have blank, what will that do for you? What's important about that? And just notice. And you'll know when you start hitting a deeper core value because one of three things begins to happen. The answer starts to feel bigger or more universal, like love or freedom or like peace or security. And maybe you start to imagine an emotion in your body, maybe softening or releasing or letting go. Or if you start looping your answers and you keep saying the same thing in different words, then we've hit a core value. And once you have this core value or word in mind, just sit with that for a moment. And imagine, if you can, and the first color that comes to mind, whatever color comes first, see the value, this word, as a color. If it's peace, maybe it's green, whatever you notice is fine. And then see if you can, adjust, like you're in that editing room and you're adjusting the color and brighten it up, make it real bright and vibrant. And imagine this light is being absorbed in your body. You know, when you have dry skin and you put on lotion and it just kind of absorbs into your skin. If you were to imagine all the 84,000 pores of your entire body just opening up, and that light, that glimmering, sparkling, shimmering light is just being absorbed into your body. What does that look like? What does it feel like? What does it even sound like? And just notice as you absorb this, just easily, naturally. Maybe you notice how it spreads all around you into each and every cell of your entire being. And you can actually direct and instruct your mind to guide that light to any part of your body that may need more. And you can go ahead and do that right now. And imagine filling up your chest, your arms, your legs, every single cell, all your organs with this glimmering, sparkling, shimmering light. And notice what it feels like just aligning with this value every day. And at the end of the day, I wonder if you can notice that you lived by your values. And that's something you can control. And notice what that might be like. Because values live inside of you. And when you act from them, procrastination loses its grip because you're no longer pushing yourself with the shoulds. You're being pulled forward into alignment that you're creating for yourself right now. Now, here's the thing. And as you just notice your breathing slowing down, reminding yourself you're safe in the room and in the space that you're in, sometimes, even when we know our values, even when you feel the values in your body, resistance still shows up, and that's okay. We're going to just acknowledge it. There's not a failure. You're not doing anything wrong. This is why we're doing this. So we want to welcome any resistance. It's just part of the process, and we want to welcome it as part of a process. Because usually there's a belief running underneath that often years, decades ago, is still trying to protect you. And so we're going to find this and we're going to decode it before we go into the actual hypnotherapy part. Because the moment you bring it to the surface, that's when we can start choosing something new. So let's notice what we have repressed. Because sometimes when we feel resistance or an emotion around something that we want, it's not laziness, it's an old belief still running in the background. And we're going to explore what your system has been trying to protect you from. And just notice. So again, bring to mind what you want. Maybe it's a goal, it's your desire, maybe it's just the next step. And as you just notice, when you think about moving towards that, what happens in your body? Notice if there's any tightness. And if you can just put your hand on the area that you might feel any resistance. Now we've interconnected the mind and the body so that you naturally and automatically feel more in control when you link this together. And then notice if that feeling were to have a color or a shape, what would it be? And it's the first thing that comes to mind. We're not here to force anything, just notice. And if you don't notice anything, that's fine too. But stay with that feeling in the resistance so that when I ask you, which part of you might be afraid or what might you be afraid might happen if you did get what you wanted? And notice. And if you did get what you wanted, some people might feel like they're afraid of losing something else. I don't know, whatever comes up for you. What would a person have to believe in order to feel that way? And I wonder what age you first learned that. And it's the first age that comes to mind, usually before 8. Just go with it. Whatever you notice is fine, and be wrong if it's wrong, it's fine. Now bring that resistant part forward. And in your mind, imagine what it might be like when you say to that part, thank you for trying to protect me, because at the time it made perfect sense back then. But now you're older, you're wiser, and you don't need it to run the show right now. This is not your showrunner. You are the showrunner. And would it be okay to let that part of you know that you're not 5 anymore or however old? You're older and you're wiser and you're safe and you've survived and you're the one in charge. And just with grace and love and kindness, without force, just let that part of you know. And it's not a fault. That part never learned differently because they didn't have the magic genie coming down and processing anything. How could they feel anything other than what they were experiencing and just validate the experience? But that was in the past. And that experience doesn't need to keep protecting you in the future. And just thank that part for doing a really good job protecting. And now, remind that part what's important to you. And ask that part if it would be part of the process, moving towards that goal. So we're not trying to get rid of anything. We're just allowing it to become part of the process. But it doesn't get to go behind the driver's wheel. It gets to sit in the passenger's seat as we create small little changes, just one step at a time. And I wonder if you can bring to mind what new belief we need to install. You are worthy. I mean, just being born, meaning you exist, means you're worthy. It's part of the package. You're deserving. That's part of the package, just to let you know. What belief would you like to install? And if there's resistance, that's okay. Just go, I notice you, and it's there. We're just allowing the nervous system to adapt. That's all. And as I bring you in deeper, as you just get comfortable right now, and you listen to my voice, you might become aware of your breathing, and you already know you relax more when you slow this down. And as you're starting to slow down your breathing, just breathing in, breathing out each breath, soothing your body, just calming your mind. I want to remind you that you don't need to listen to every word I say. In fact, your mind isn't really designed to stay still. So anytime you drift away, you can always wander back into my voice, and my voice can comfort, it can guide you in the exact right way that's just right for you. Now, some people may hear every word I say, and that's fine, and others may drift away. But anytime it drifts away, when you awaken, you'll just have this tendency to feel calm, relaxed, more in control, to take positive action towards what you actually want and desire. But as you just simply continue to drift right now, well, it might be reassuring to recognize that there is another part of your mind that knows how to learn. I'm talking to your subconscious mind, which knows everything. And that part of your mind that already knows how to learn is very comfortable with these awarenesses. Now, that part of your mind that's trying to figure anything out, well, it may or may not make sense to your conscious mind, and that's okay. But I'd like to remind your unconscious mind knows everything. And that part of your mind already knows how to learn. It's kind of like the time when you learned how to walk in the beginning. It was very tricky at first and you fell down. It was frustrating, but sooner or later, you just learned how to pull yourself up and you started to take one step and then another. And now you can just open a door and walk out. Or like even the time when you learn how to drive a car, there were so many things you had to pay attention to. When you were learning something new, you had the blinkers, you click them up, you make a right-hand turn, you click them down, you go left. That was really frustrating at first. You had the brakes, you had the steering, so many things for your mind and body to pay attention to all at once. It was hard, it was tricky. And then one day, I don't know, you really wanted to learn how to drive that car. You practiced. And so you learned, your mind and body put it all together into one complete action. Now you could just get in the car and go. Isn't it nice to know that that part of your mind is here with you right now? And it can learn new ways of being, new ways of living. They're just patterns that we all do. They're just a program, just a pattern, and we all do programs and patterns. And your old, outdated programs and patterns of procrastination served a function, and they did things for you. They protected you. But there are other ways to get all the positive benefits of the old patterns without having to do them in the same way in the future. Now, you may or you may not know what those new ways are right now, and that's okay. You just need to know that it's possible. And I'd like to ask that very creative part of your mind, where all learning takes place and deep thought lies, that part of your mind that already knows how to learn, to come up with new patterns and check in with you. Maybe you're doing the dishes or folding laundry or taking a shower. Maybe you're on a walk outside and you'll get that aha and you'll check in with you, make sure it's okay, and you'll just start integrating new ways of being and doing and take action, but only at a rate and at a speed that's just right, as is right for you, one step at a time. So that from this moment forward, each excuse simply becomes an invitation to take action. Every moment of resistance really becomes a signal or a sign that you're growing. In fact, in the past, maybe you waited for motivation, but now you're beginning to notice resistance simply means your mind and body are learning something new. And it's learning, which means you're getting closer to what you actually want and desire, which is exciting. And the more you breathe in, the more your body just naturally and automatically knows how to relax. And as you exhale out right now, you can release any tension from any part of your mind, your body, any thoughts. And you can just let that tension go. And as you exhale all the way out, each breath soothing the body, calming the mind, maybe you notice all the muscles around your eyes and your jaw begin to release and relax, let go. And by the time you notice all the muscles down the back of your neck relaxing, go ahead and relax all the muscles down your back. Because your body knows how to relax. You don't need to do anything at all. You can simply notice which part of your body is already most relaxed. Even if it's just a little bit more. Maybe it's a pinky or a toe. And I wonder how quickly you might become aware of the most relaxed part of your body right now. And the more you relax, the more comfortable you begin to feel. And in this comfort, you become more certain that every time you complete even the smallest task, your brain is rewiring and giving you the reward of dopamine. Sooner or later, momentum builds, and that's how your confidence grows. Not because you're forcing yourself, but because you're rewiring your mind to actually enjoy taking action. And the more You imagine taking action right now in relaxing yourself. You're in complete control over how relaxed you'd like to feel and become. Well, the more relaxed you automatically become, and sooner or later you begin to feel more in control. Now, I want you to imagine you're standing on the other side of a door. And on the other side of that door is the editing room of your computer-like mind. And as you open the door and you allow yourself to go inside, maybe you notice on one side there are shelves and they're stacked with scripts of stories that really serve you, all the wonderful ideas that you have about yourself. Make the images and pictures brighter. Maybe you've forgotten. And just imagine noticing all the things that are really serving you, all those stories up there on the shelf. And you can look at those anytime you'd like. And as you remind yourself of all those positive stories and things that you can choose to remind yourself of. Make the images and pictures brighter and the feelings stronger. If any resistance shows up or any tension, this is your nervous system simply adapting to you, creating safety, invalidating your achievements or the positive things that you actually have created for yourself. And breathe. Now, as you continue walking down the hall, you may notice on the other side old movie posters that are pinned to the wall. And they represent old, outdated stories and scripts. Now, your subconscious mind knows everything. So allow your subconscious mind to guide you to that old story or belief or maybe an unprocessed emotion. And as you stare at it, notice it or feel it or even hear it, what comes to mind first. Just imagine that you can tear it off the wall and just tear that story that no longer is serving you up. Just tear it up. Tear all the scenes that you've rehearsed this story. Just tear it up because you don't need it anymore. And now imagine there's a big fire, like a campfire, and you just crumble those pages that you've torn off and you throw it into the fire. All that's not serving you, and the smoke comes up. Maybe you see the words on the pages of those old scripts begin to crackle in the fire as the smoke begins to circulate. Maybe there's a window or a door and you open it up. And as the smoke begins to clear out the window and out the door, allow your subconscious mind to guide you to the next poster that's no longer serving you, that script, that story, and tear it off the wall. Just tear it up. You don't need it. No more rehearsing. Tear out all those scenes and throw them into the fire. Just notice the smoke. And as that window and door, maybe there's a gust of wind pulling out the smoke as the room begins to clear. Just notice as you watch it dissolve frame by frame until it's gone, until you've deleted all those scenes that don't belong in the movie that you're creating for yourself right now. And then notice in one big swoop, tearing all the rest of those posters down, just everything unwanted, tearing out all those old scenes and throw them all into the fire. Notice the smoke. Open the window and the door. Allow it to clear out as you just toss it into the editing bin and watch it burn away with the fire as you watch it dissolve just frame by frame. Gone. It's just gone where it no longer hurts you or anyone else around you. So that each and every time you do this, you free up energy. Every time you let go, you create the space for the scripts that you actually want to run. The ones that are aligned with your values, your vision, and the future that you're creating for yourself right now. And so I want you to imagine stepping out of this editing room and going into the control room now of both your mind and body. And notice around. Maybe you notice there are switchers or levers, knobs, dials, or glowing screens in the control room that operates every function of your body, of your mind, where things can be adjusted here. Somewhere in this room, notice your procrastination thermostat, because in a moment, we're going to adjust it. Maybe you notice there's the words procrastination thermostat set above the thermostat, all lit up or not, whatever you notice is fine. Just simply notice the number that it's set to right now. Maybe it's too high, too much resistance that might be holding you back. And your nervous system doesn't need motivation, it needs motion. So imagine moving towards this thermostat right now and imagine moving your hand. And as you place your hand on the dial, you could begin to turn it down. Go ahead and do this now. Just turn it down to a much healthier, much better setting, a setting that allows you to actually move towards what you actually want with more ease. It's a setting that tells your body that it is safe to act. It's safe to begin. And as you do this, notice the shift in your body. So that each and every time you complete something, you trigger dopamine and progress, and you're literally rewiring because you reinforce this new lower setting of your procrastination thermostat. And because progress, well, it builds power. Every small win, small little wins, reinforce your identity as someone who takes action and moves despite resistance. Now, in the past, you may have fought with your resistance, listened to the excuses, but now you lead your resistance in the exact right way that's just right for you. In fact, even when you feel uncertain, you can choose to act. And when you do, clarity comes. And because you're no longer avoiding, you're recognizing you're adapting. You become a person who adapts and grows. And I wonder how much lighter and freer, more confident your system begins to feel. Because from this moment forward, every time you do what you resist, and you do it first, well, you reinforce this new lower setting, you strengthen your confidence, and you build momentum. And the more and more a person just simply gets things done, the more momentum you just build. All of a sudden, things are just happening easily, naturally, effortlessly. Because it's not about pressure, you know this. Pressure means that your mind and body are learning something new, which means you're getting closer to what you actually want and desire. You're now learning it's about permission. Now, in the past, it may have been waiting or motivation to feel ready, but you're becoming a person who understands it's about starting small despite resistance and letting the action generate your confidence. So I wonder if you can just simply take a moment now to absorb this new program. As you've absorbed the light of your values, as it allows your system to adjust and adapt and lock things into place. Because you don't need to force anything. Your unconscious mind already knows how to do this, doesn't it? Now I want you to imagine a screen is in front of you, and it's like you're in the editing room, and it's a movie playing. Just notice you watching a movie, and this movie is playing your patterns of procrastination. And as you just soften and settle into yourself right now, maybe something that you've been putting off on the screen, maybe it's a task or a decision, or maybe it's a conversation. Just allow your unconscious mind to guide you. Bring it up just gently, easily, naturally. Ask yourself, what would completing this give you? And just notice what comes up. What feeling? Freedom? I don't know. A feeling? What does it give you? Now we're really going to catch this pattern, and you have all the controls right there at your fingertips. So begin to slow this movie down so you can really see it clearly, frame by frame. And just notice any excuses you might be telling yourself that might be familiar. They're not the truth, they're just something that you may have rehearsed. Notice any pictures or images that come to mind. And just stop the movie. Because it's not who you are, this is just a pattern. This is just a pattern. That's all. And I wonder if you can imagine what you might be willing to start doing differently so that we code in a new pattern so that we move towards what you actually want and desire. So we break the loop and move towards what you actually want and desire. What would that look like on the frame? What would you hear? What would the sound like? What would you tell yourself differently in a way that's just right as is right for you? Maybe you notice your resistance and you just guide yourself with the resistance and just say, you can be there. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I've got this now. And what's it like when you no longer wait for motivation? You just now choose to act. And just take a moment and imagine how much better life will feel as you begin taking action, and just notice yourself thinking beyond old limitations of your past thinking as you open up to new possibilities, possibilities that were always there, but now you're noticing them differently. And I want you to ask yourself, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do? Because we're simply instructing your unconscious mind to overwrite old, outdated programs so it becomes more congruent with who you are already becoming. Because in this moment, we're simply instructing your unconscious mind to override old operating software of hesitation, of delay, and install a new program, one that makes you self-assured, more authentic, more confident. Just notice your nervous system adapting to this. We're not judging it, we're observing. Just observe. It's part of the process. So that every excuse that used to hold you back now becomes the signal that moves you forward. Isn't it nice to know that resistance does not mean stop? It actually means that you're growing. And you can create comfort within discomfort by slowing down and noticing which part of you is just a little bit more comfortable than the other parts. And the more you focus on the more comfortable part, sooner or later, wherever you focus begins to expand. And notice that comfort beginning to expand all around and through, so that every time you take the smallest action, it just becomes comfortable. And you prove to yourself, this is who you're becoming already. Now, I wonder if you can imagine a person that you think is incredibly successful, confident, somebody who just gets things done. And just notice their posture. Now, maybe this is a person you know, or maybe it's a person who's on television, or maybe it's your higher self, or somebody you admired who may have passed away. Just notice their posture. How do they stand? How do they carry themselves? How do they smile? Notice the tone in their voice. What kind of language do they use in their mind or out their mouth? And if you could simply imagine gently floating outside your body and float into them so you embody them right now, look through those eyes, their eyes, and see what you see. Hear through their ears. Notice their internal dialogue. Listen and feel their feelings and sensations as you allow your subconscious mind to download all the neurological codings of success to you right now, so that naturally in the future, you'll just find yourself feeling this good. And the more you take positive action, the more successful you begin to feel from this moment forward, but only at a rate and speed that's just right as is right for you. And as you take in that feeling of certainty, of that feeling, I can do this, notice how your body begins to move. And just notice as you take those awarenesses and bring them back into your body. Naturally, in the future, you just might find yourself standing taller, speaking more clearly, acting more decisively, and just getting things done internally, externally. Because confidence is not something that you wait for, it's something that you step into. And just allow yourself to adapt there. Now, I want to ask you, what are you willing to stop doing so that you make space for what you actually want? And notice another screen playing of a movie, and this time run it backwards in reverse. See it going backwards. Hit that reverse. Hear it going backwards. Rewind it. While you say to yourself, I don't do this anymore. Because the moment you decide what to stop doing, you'll free your energy for what you choose to do. And just breathe. Because you're becoming a person who just simply chooses to act. And just notice one step, maybe one click, one decision at a time. And as you play the new movie of how you'd like to show up in the world, your mind begins to use its genius to make this happen. It can project it into the future. It organizes all your resources. It anticipates obstacles. It finds solutions in advance. And it adjusts its course just automatically, just like an airplane, on its way to its destination. If you're traveling to New York, you still get to go to New York, but you may have to change because of the weather. So you just adapt one little bit at a time, but you're still going to New York. Action is safe, it's natural. And action is who you are becoming, one step at a time, not from pressure, but from power, from alignment, from choice, and from identity. Which means every time you act, you strengthen the belief that this is who you're becoming. You're the person who begins. You're the person who follows through. And now just breathe that in so that from this moment forward, Every time resistance shows up, you just simply recognize it as a signal that you're growing and you're learning. Every time you take action first, even if it's a small little step, you build momentum just easily and naturally. And notice floating forward a few days from now. You're learning easily, you're practicing. It's becoming easier floating forward 2 weeks from now. You're really getting the hang of things and it feels good. Procrastination isn't who you are. It was just an old, outdated program. The new script is now saying, I act. Doing feels much easier than waiting. And notice as you float forward day by day, week by week, you're becoming the kind of person who follows through. Get a sense of this on that screen. Action is becoming your new normal. Confidence isn't something that you wait for, it's just something that you generate automatically. Every action that you take reinforces the identity of who you're becoming, who gets things done. You don't try anymore, you just do. And as you breathe this in, as you float forward even more, just imagine that future you right now. Make the images and pictures brighter, the feelings stronger. Float into them. Look through those eyes and really see what you see. And hear what you hear. Feel what it feels like, knowing the more you move, the more energy you have. Notice how every small action creates clarity and momentum. And as you look through those eyes, this is where your flow happens. And lock this in. And as you look through the eyes of your future self, look over at yourself right now. And I wonder what you might suggest to yourself that might be most helpful for you today. And go ahead and do this. And the more you notice that your actions match your values, the more energy you begin to feel. And as you act on what matters most, everything just becomes easier. So that every day in every way, your nerves become stronger and steadier. Your mind is calmer. It's clearer. You're just more peaceful, more at ease. You see things in their true perspective without allowing things to get out of proportion. If you find yourself speaking unfairly to yourself or speaking negatively, you just stop. You want the best for yourself. Now you may choose a fair tone of voice using fair, constructive words as you guide yourself back into alignment and create fairness, because you're learning that resistance is not a stop sign. It's the proof that you need that your mind and body are actually learning. And that's exciting. It just means that every time you act in spite of fear, you just grow stronger. You'd be surprised by how quickly you become the person who you already are, that lives just beneath the surface of any tension of who you think you should be. And imagine just taking all those positive suggestions that help you the most in the exact right way that's just right for you, and just putting them into a cup of water, allowing it to dissolve. As you drink this water, just assimilate and digest all that's important into the deeper part of the mind. And in a moment, I'm going to bring you up and out. And when I do, you'll just have this feeling of new energy, of alignment, of feeling more embodied and relaxed at zero, with a deep and cleansing breath. As you begin opening your eyes and coming back to the room and space that you're in at 1, you may notice your hands, your fingers, and your toes at 2. Maybe you want to wiggle them. At 3, Maybe yawn, stretch at 4, and then blinking your eyes fully open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back in the room, eyes open and wide awake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open and wide awake. So, welcome back, everyone. So, if you have any thing you want to share, any comments, any feedback,
I'll